Hello, and thank you for joining me. I'm really glad you are here. We're going to do another photo class. And today we are going to talk about composition. What I'm actually going to do is I'm going to talk about three main elements. And then I'm going to tell you the one rule of composition that rules them all, in my opinion. So, I'm actually currently out in the backcountry, and I'm out here shooting some other stuff here. But I decided while I'm actually waiting for my food to heat up and cook, so I have some time, and I thought I would take a moment to talk to you guys about composition. So let's just go ahead and dive right into composition and what it is. And at the base core level, composition is just how you gather and frame the elements of the image you're trying to take, and that's really what it is. But there are a few rules out there that help to give you guides and give you ideas about how to line things up in your image. We're going to start off with the most commonly referred to composition, and that's the rule of thirds. And that is, you are going to take your screen or your image, and you're going to basically divide it into thirds, both horizontally and vertically. And you're going to just basically draw lines across the space. And I'll do an overlay right here so you can see what I'm talking about. So you can see that there's these two horizontal lines, two vertical lines, and four intersections in the space. So what rule of thirds is those guidelines are really there to help you balance out a picture and try to put interesting things on those lines. So you can do, for example, if you have a really, you're about to capture a really killer sunset, let's say you put the horizon or the coastline on that bottom third. Same thing goes left and right by putting dominant elements in your composition on those left and right vertical lines. That's going to help to balance your image. Now you can take this rule of thirds one step further, and most people do, at those intersection points of those lines. Those are where you're going to want to put key things. For example, that's a focal point. Let's say it's somebody's eye in a portrait, or it's the moon in a moonscape, nighttime photography. So that's going to be, if you can land important elements on there, and especially if you can hit like two of them, that is really going to help you think about your composition. It's also something that you can use when you're cropping later in your post-processing by moving things in and cropping off little excess parts of your image. But if you think about this rule of thirds when you're composing and when you're setting up your shot, it's going to help you capture a little bit better of an image. Now there's a whole bunch of other overlays out there. There's your Fibonacci circle. You've got the X one. There's all kinds of different ones. If you have a decent camera of recent, they should have those overlays in there for you. If not, just hop online, take a look at them, and all of them are basically showing you how to break up your scene and where to put interesting elements of your composition. So now let's go ahead and move on to the second one. And the second one I like to call symmetry or balance. And this is where you have in your image either at the base level something like a reflection, to where you've got maybe a peak in the background and it's reflecting off the water in the front, so you have that same shape down below. Or you've found a way to have, maybe you have a slope of a mountain and you got a change of a lake coming in that helps to balance it out. And it gives almost a mirroring to the image to it. The other way that balance and symmetry works is, let's say you have something dominant on the left-hand side of your image, you put something else on the right-hand side that helps to weight it out. And it doesn't have to be something dominant, doesn't have to be big. It just has to be something that pulls the eye. So it could be something as simple as a duck in the water to balance out a tree. But as long as you have something that kind of pulls the focus and helps to keep the eye from not just landing on one thing, if it helps to kind of give more breadth and room to your images, that's going to give you balance and symmetry in your images. There is a kind of a unwritten part of that, where there's the rule of threes. And so you're having 3 items that help lead the eye through the image. That is a great way to look and way to look at compositions, especially if you're thinking about, like, say, your foregrounds, having 3 items in the foreground that lead you into the image and back through. That's also a great way to think. If it's just 2, your eyes end up kind of bouncing back and forth. But I have seen plenty of images where a very minimalist style has just like 2 items in it, and it just they match each other and balance each other very well. Let's we'll pause here real quick. I got an image here I want to show you here that has what I feel is good balance to it. This is a shot that I took while I was backpacking through the high Sierras of California, and I just happened to be camping in the right spot to get this nice reflection in this water below. And so I've got that angle coming through, and then I also have a little bit of an angle to the shape in the water, and then having that mirroring of the sunset and the clouds above being mirrored down in that water below. I feel like this is a good example of how to get some balance into your image. And you can see here that by using this rule, I have done rule of thirds by putting a couple of these elements on those thirds, but really I've put the line of the mountain where it starts to reflect and repeat in the middle of the image. So there's that kind of element can be utilized as well. Now onto the third image, and this is one that I really like. It can be a very tricky one because it requires being very comfortable with not having things in your image, but it's negative space. And I feel like having negative space in your image really does help to show scale, to show distance. It also shows importance. This image here I took from a peak here in Washington, looking down at Mount Rainier and the moon up in the sky there, and I loved all that negative space, that nice soft gradient in there of color in that setting sun and I purposely framed it up with a whole lot of negative space because I really loved just how important it made the peak of Mount Rainier and that moon up high in the sky. So that's a really fantastic way of using, well, I say fantastic. Negative space is a fantastic thing to use. I'm not going to say that my images are fantastic. That's for you guys and for the public to judge. It's not for me to say what my images are. I appreciate them. I like them. I look at them and they're pleasing. But so those are your three main elements I want to talk about in composition. I wanted to talk about the rule of thirds because that is probably the first one that always comes up when you're first starting to learn composition. It's a really powerful one. It's a good thing to keep always in your pocket because it does really lend itself to creating good compositions, especially if you can land important things on those cross points. Then having the balance and symmetry by using either that reflection or by using the weighted things in your images. And then the third one, of course, being that the negative space. That is something that I personally really enjoy. I really love seeing that expanse. I really love seeing that open space and reminding myself that there is a whole lot out there. It doesn't work for everyone. It is definitely a stylized choice. But those are three that I like to use and like to think about. And so some tips for you guys. I did say that there was one composition tool or rule that rules them all, and here it is. Take images of what you want. Take pictures of what you want. Photography is an art. There is no black and white, right and wrong. And if anybody tries to tell you that, they're full of it. There is no right, there is no wrong in art. There is only commonly accepted things, which are these rules that we just talked about. But there is all the room in the world for you to improvise and to take a picture of what you want and what you find interesting. That's, if you keep in mind that it's your image, your picture, most likely it's going to be printed on going on your wall. Let me get that little fly on there. It's going to be printed and going on your wall. So if you like it and it makes you happy and it's pleasing to you, then that is, oh, come on, go away. Then that is a good image and that's a good composition. If you're trying to compose and sell, then you do have to kind of start thinking about all these other rules of composition, because those rules are in place for what is commonly accepted in the world and what is most pleasing to look at. But that one rule, the one rule that rules them all, is take pictures of what you want. So go out, shoot, practice, try these three compositions, try these three composition ideas. But at the end, take a picture of what you want. If you like 2 rocks in a water, take it. It's just do what makes you happy and makes you feel good, and just try certain things, try other things, but in the end, do what you want to do. So thank you very much for hanging out here with me. I'm hoping I think my noodles are done now, which is going to be, I'm really excited about that. I haven't had pad thai, Backpacker's Pantry pad thai for a long time. It's really good. Thank you very much. If you found this helpful, please give it a like and a thumbs up on there. If you're new here, consider subscribing if you're finding what I'm doing helpful and informative. If not, don't worry about it. It's totally cool. I really look forward to seeing the images you guys do, and I really hope that you're enjoying shooting. So yeah, until then, happy shooting.